Let's start with the truth most people don't say out loud. Personal development feels inspiring, super motivating, until real life shows up, until you are tired, until money is tight, until your head is loud, until you are trying to build something and you realize you are the biggest bottleneck. Well, today's guest doesn't do polished, he does real. He's a Jersey Shore guy, 10-year Army vet, former drill sergeant, construction and remodeling background, turned marketer, turned realtor. He's also willing to talk about the parts people hide: insecurities, pressure, identity, discipline, and what it means to rebuild your life from the ground up. And yes, we will touch mental health because this is Healthy Mind, Healthy Life, but then only in the way that ties into self leadership, personal growth, and sustainable entrepreneurship. So, if you have ever thought something like this, okay, why do I keep repeating the same patterns? Or how do I stay consistent when my motivation disappears? Or how do I build a life that doesn't collapse when I'm not okay? Stay with us. So, welcome back, listeners, to Healthy Mind, Healthy Life, where we talk about building real success without losing yourself in the process. I'm Sana, your host. And listeners, a quick note before we begin. In this episode, we will mention mental health experiences. So, this is not a medical advice. And if anything in this conversation hits close to home, please consider reaching out to qualified mental health professional or someone you trust. If you ever feel like you are in immediate danger or at risk of harming yourself, contact your local emergency number right away. We'll definitely mention all the details in the show notes. But listeners, let's begin with the conversation and let's welcome our guest, Dennis Interdonato. So, Dennis, welcome to the show, and I'm really, really honored to have you here with us.
Thank you, Sana. Pleasure to be here.
Okay, so Dennis, to begin with, before we talk about the business and tactics, um, if you can give us the human version in there, because I think still there are conversations where the business side and the human side, they are considered separately. Who are you today, and what season of life are you right now in?
Well, today, today I'm a wiser man who basically thinks about everybody else before himself, which is certainly different than the person I was 10 years ago, and clearly different than the person I was 10 years before that.
Mhm.
Life has uh life has made me appreciate a lot of things that I used to take for granted, and I'm in that stage of my life now where I wanna be able to try and give back. I wanna be able to be there for people. I want I want people to know that even if they feel like they don't have anybody in their lives, whether they're strangers to me or very, very close to me, they have me. They can always come to me to confide in, to ask questions, to do anything. I wanna be present for people, and I wanna spread that message. I want more people to follow suit and do the same.
Mm. And that's really good to know, Dennis, and thank you so much for sharing that because it can be sometimes very challenging to articulate, everything and share. In fact, It's very surprising because for me as well, if I look back a certain number of years back, who I was and now who I am, there is definitely a huge difference in there. Maybe it happened because of certain events, COVID, layoff, getting into a kind of a role that is completely opposite to what I was doing a few years back, or I didn't even imagine. So sometimes, it can be really good to kind of do some self introspection, thinking about that, how you are not changed, but now you have your different priorities. You are a different version, and you are coming back to yourself. So I really appreciate you sharing that.
Thank you.
Okay, Dennis. Now let's talk about. I mean, you have a lot of identity layers in there: a builder, soldier, entrepreneur, family man, someone who lives in the world's most people only stereotype. So here's the question: which identity has been the hardest to carry, like quietly, when nobody's watching?
Oh, that's a really easy question and a really deep one. So I've been very vocal about it this past year, but certainly the biggest burden that I carry, especially when nobody is around, is dealing with my bipolarism. I was diagnosed bipolar depressive a couple of years ago,
Okay.
more than a couple of years ago, but I've actually had it my entire life.
Mhm.
And that honestly, Sana, that could be an entirely different podcast, that whole conversation.
Yes.
Um, but that is by far the hardest to deal with because there's no cure, and I do not medicate by choice. So
Mhm.
I deal with this on my own. When I'm with people, it helps. The distractions always help. But when I'm alone, when I'm left to my own thoughts, that is
Mhm.
really where my mental fortitude really has to come through. And I just have to constantly remind myself that there are people here that need me, and regardless of whatever I'm going through, whether life is good at that time or life is bad at that time, living with any type of depression, it immensely compounds the feelings. So you have like really high highs and you have really low lows. And I've gotten to a point where I can't even enjoy the highs anymore because I'm anticipating how bad the low is going to be when it hits. And that's really the hardest part of dealing with everything, is the fact that I feel like I can't be happy because I know at some point I'm going to be miserable. And that roller coaster of life has been, it's been the toughest obstacle that I have to continuously jump over in life.
Mm. And once again, Dennis, I really appreciate because um there's a kind of courage in sharing your vulnerabilities also. That's what I feel. I mean, uh and I'm really happy, not happy, but I'm really relieved, because there there are, even if we talk about healing, we talk about so many different options out there, channels and modalities, especially around mental health. Still, we sometimes we have to kind of deal with our insecurities, with our fears, um and this fear of being lonely, that is something that personally I also do deal with, Dennis. I mean, it can sound very weird, very strange, but then certain seasons, certain times of the day or the night, or maybe thinking that okay, your loved ones will be there with you for a certain period of time. Maybe there will be a day when you have to deal with that loneliness. What exactly you will do? And then it kind of becomes like this whole rabbit hole of, getting fearful, anxious. um, getting stressed out because of that.
Yeah, 100%. Every day is different, you know? You wake up every day, you don't know what your day is gonna be like. You know what's on the schedule, but you don't know how you're gonna deal with certain things based on how we wake up.
Yeah, yeah. Dennis, you have got a military background. I mean, discipline is a part of your DNA. But then real life, it isn't a training schedule. So when you get into that, when your mood drops or your head gets loud, what actually keeps you moving? Like you mentioned, like, you want to be with people, you want to be of service for the people out there. But then individually, as Dennis, what keeps you moving without pretending that you are fine? Is it the acceptance of the fact that, I have to deal with this, or something else?
I I mean, the acceptance the acceptance came a while back, knowing that, this is going to be my life, especially the way that I have decided to live it. But
Mhm.
also that is how I deal with it, is how I've decided to live with it. So, even things like what you and I are doing right now, 7:30 in the morning here in New Jersey. How
Mhm.
many people will dedicate themselves to waking up early to come onto a podcast with someone, uh, a couple thousand miles away to spread the word and, uh, just maybe learn something new today and maybe help one more person who might hear this podcast. It's things like
Mhm.
this that keep me going and staying busy in general. I have the ability, or I guess I could say I have the opportunity to just do whatever I want whenever I want it. I don't have many ties to keeping me down to anything in my life. So if I want to work a 16-hour day, I'll do it. If I feel I need to do it, I'll do it. If I don't want to do it and I don't need to do it, I won't. If I wake up some days and I just don't want to get out of bed, I don't. I deal with it on my own terms. The one thing is you can't let it run you. You have
Mhm.
to know when like enough is enough on any given day. And that enough is enough could be first thing in the morning. It could be when I wake up. Now, granted, I have a business and I have a brand and I work every single day of my life because I love what I'm doing as a realtor. I love
Mhm.
having this brand. I love being present for people. That's another thing that keeps me going and certainly helps take my mind off of whatever I have going on. And
Mhm.
when I say like whatever I have going on, I don't mean that like I have a lot of things going on in my life. What I basically mean is even even if I'm feeling like really really low
Mhm.
on a given day, if I have responsibilities that day, those responsibilities get done and they get done at 110%. I will never let whatever I have going on or whatever I'm going through, I will never let that affect me showing up for other people. That's the one that's the one thing that was an absolute non-negotiable for me when I started this brand and really dove into being the resource, being the lifestyle connector, just being there for people. I had said to myself, no matter what I'm going through, you
Mhm.
have to get up, you have to get out of bed, and you need to show up for the people that you said you would show up for. And that's the main thing that really just keeps me going is the fact that there are people who rely on me and I will not let them down. And that will always take precedent over anything else I have going on.
Mhm. I really, once again, I really, it's actually, to be honest, it's very inspiring. It's basically, I mean, you found your purpose. You found your true inner calling. That's your true inner calling. And I love the way you framed it because you love what you are doing. It's not by obligation, or someone or some system or something has forced you to do it. You love what you're doing. And I think that is something which gives you that soul level fulfillment and satisfaction, even if physically you are drained out or you feel tired. I do understand that. I connect with that. But Dennis, many of our listeners will think that yes, that is inspiring, but then at the same time, sometimes this can kind of be kind of consuming you. You may not be able to take care of yourselves at times because um the circumstances can be very, very demanding. Sometimes it can be challenging. Um, so what do you think about it? Like, when you feel like, this is going now to the extreme level, I may burn out myself. What do you do?
Everything I do is done with intention and purpose. So you have to know what your limits are, no matter what. And this goes for any type of business or being in business or anything, right? Whether you deal with depression or you don't deal with depression, whether you're the happiest person in the world or you're the saddest person in the world,
Yeah.
you have to know what your limits are. And one of the one of the things that really helped shape who I am now in the
Mhm.
last few years is aligning myself with the right people in my life.
Mm,
I have
mhm,
I've walked away from certain groups. I have distanced myself from certain people in my life because I acknowledge the fact that they're not I'm not like them anymore, I guess I should say, right? I am not in the same headspace, or I am looking for more in my life, or I wanna take my life in a different direction.
mm,
So you have to be able to know what you have going on. You have to be completely aware of your direction and what your vision is, because regardless of what type of person you are, if you want to do anything with your life, in regards to being entrepreneurial,
mhm,
you need to know what the why is, or what the goal is, because sometimes it's not a legitimate why to certain people, right? Most people will be like,
mm,
my why is my family, or my why is this. My why is not my family, because I don't I have a very small family, but I don't have my own family. So I don't really have anyone that is gonna hold me accountable to that, or even make me wanna work harder. My why is just to be a successful person in my own eyes. I have grandeur visions of the type of man that I wanna be and the type of man that I wanna become,
mhm,
and there are multiple levels to that man, and I work towards that every day. But if any at any given point, if I feel that I'm burning out, and I'll know when I am, and for most people, there are like telltale signs. For me, I forget. I start forgetting things. That's when I know I'm burning out. I start forgetting things, or I become a little demotivated, or I'll work like a normal work day, which for people will be like, you're crazy. Like, that's the day you're supposed to work. Like, 9 to 5 is the work day for you, but for me, that's not a work day. That's like a break. I I show up in my office 8 a.m. every day. I don't leave my office until, like, 7, 8 o'clock at night, and that's not because I have to. That's because I want to. I want to be here. I want to build this out. This this to me is life. I enjoy this. Some people some people can't stand going to work. I absolutely love being in the office, being out, meeting new people, connecting people, creating new lives for people. That I feel like that's, like you said earlier, it's like a calling for me,
yeah,
right? And if at any given time I start to feel any less of any of that, that's when I know I'm starting to burn out. And when I start feeling like that, I step back. Like, I'm not a robot, like I am a
yeah.
I I am a human being. I s there are certainly things that I wanna do in life. I wanna travel. I'd like to take vacations. I wouldn't mind taking an entire month off and traveling to a different country and exploring new cultures. That's like one of my biggest bucket list things is how many countries can I go and visit and learn about their culture? Because that's what interests me,
Yeah.
you know? So it's got to all be part of the plan. Like you do have to find your balance, but balance is different for every single person. And one thing that I learned a couple years back, I wish I learned this like 20 years back, but I learned this recently is don't listen to what everybody else constantly preaches about finding balance or what your why is or whatever. Your balance and your why is whatever you want it to be. And it only has to make sense to you, nobody else. If you know what's going to get you to the finish line, that's your path. Don't deviate from it. Pour into it. And forget what everybody else says. If people are talking negative about that kind of stuff, that's going to take me right back to what I said earlier. Find your own tribe. Find the right people to have in your life. The people that are going to support you, whether they believe in what you're doing or not. If they're there and they're supporting you, those are the right people. And
Mm.
that mix, that's a winning combination for you. And to be honest, you probably never will burn out if you have the right mix.
Yeah. 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 And that's what exactly I was mentioning, that, when you're doing something that you love, that, it's kind of a kind of this dopamine for your soul, quote unquote, listeners.
Yes. Yes.
You feel that spark within you, but then yes, you may be physically tired, but then each time when you're doing something, you feel like, yes, this is exactly what is my purpose, and let me still show up even if I'm tired. But I'm still aware, I'm conscious that I need to kind of balance this out in my own way, not what others are telling me. But then at the same time, Dennis, one thing that I also would like to add on to this, I mean, um, it may be different for different people out there. When you are, um, you know, when you're surrounded by like-minded people who will definitely understand and connect with you, and you will connect with them, like, you would like to get mentored by them. I think that the truest ones, they will they will not hesitate to stop, they will not hesitate to stop you for anything, which is unsafe or which is not right. Like they'll be always constructively criticizing you, that okay, you reassess, you realign, do a course correction, because this is not something which is going to work out, but in a constructive way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I mean, it's we can be surrounded by yes men, we can be surrounded, we can have our echo chambers, but then I personally believe that the ones who are actually genuinely concerned about you and they care about you, they are the ones who will always they'll also support you, and they'll also say, okay, maybe you would just revisit this, think about this once again, and then you decide.
Yeah, for sure. You know, it's funny too because a lot of people aren't going to understand what you're doing unless they're in the same headspace or the
Right.
same point in life. I have friends that I never see anymore, and they'll pass comments, and they'll when I do see them, they'll be like, "Oh, Dennis is out with his hoity-toity friends again," or something like that. Those are the friends that I started distancing myself from because
Mm.
because they don't understand, and they'll never be where I am or where I want to be. And that's okay because that's not where they're at in life, but it's where I'm at in life. And I don't have to keep them in my life if I feel it's going to bring me down.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely makes sense, and no doubt. I totally agree with you, Dennis. Totally agree with you. Oh, I wish we could have gone on and on for this conversation, but Dennis, before we wrap up, I'm very sure listeners will have so many different thoughts and opinions to share with you, or maybe they would love to connect with you. So, what would be the easiest way?
You can connect with me anywhere on social media. All you have to do is search Dennis Mark Real Estate. And if you're out of the country, if you're not in the US and you want to connect with me like through phone, you can get me on WhatsApp. My number is 1-732-598-2672. And all I ask is that if you do contact me through WhatsApp, you do it in the form of a message and you mention this podcast so that I know that number one, you're not spam. And number two, uh, I I can track where you found me.
Absolutely. So, listeners, I'll make sure all the details are mentioned. Reach out to Dennis, connect with him, maybe on WhatsApp. Do make sure that you mention that you found and listened to him on Healthy Man, Healthy Life podcast.
That's right.
Mention my name as well, but yeah, I'll have all the details mentioned into the show notes. So find them attached along with this episode on your favorite podcast platform. And listeners, for me personally, this has been such a refreshing and raw, unfiltered, exactly what Dennis is conversation, because we went into the real parts here: discipline, identity, community, and the cost of carrying things alone. So, to everyone listening out there, if something in this episode hit you, take a second, take a pause, not to judge yourself, but to notice. Because awareness is usually the first honest form of change. And if you want more conversations like this, where we don't just talk about mental health or business alone, but we talk about the inner life, do follow Healthy Mind, Healthy Life, not because we are trying to be loud, but because most people are quietly struggling while trying to succeed. And you deserve a space that's practical and human. And listeners, that was Dennis Mark Interdonero. And Dennis, thank you so much. I really appreciate. This was really, really a raw conversation,
I
honestly.
enjoyed it too, Sana. Thank you. And listen, anytime you want to continue this conversation, on camera, off camera, doesn't matter to me. Get in touch. I would be happy to talk more about this with you.
Absolutely, absolutely, no doubt. And listeners, once again, thank you so much for tuning into Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. Until next time, this is your host, Sana, signing off. Take care of your mind, take care of your mission, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Thank you.